Well, hello there. This is my first video, and I'm nervous, because basically, I've been sitting on my deteriorating chair for like the last 6 months, trying to come up with an idea for a DELTARUNE video essay and the confidence to make one. Because seriously, I know I wanted to, but I wanted to be original with it. I don't want to replicate everything everyone else has done, like, night theories, character analysis, tenor and mic, possible Dark World locations, shadow crystal theories, everything, Gaster. Goddamn Gaster. Because, also, I just don't have any opinions on any of these theories. Well, I have some, like Chris Knight theory is stupid. But anyway, I still wanted to churn out a video I could be proud of before DELTARUNE released, but... So yeah, this might come out after Chapter 3 and 4. And if it does, I hope none of this is outdated. Anyway, enough rambling. Time to get you hooked into the video, so... if you haven't already left, you won't now. What the hell is the deal with Noelle and Spamton? Yeah, I know what I just said, but just stick with me. It's impossible to make a theory about Noelle and Spamton without first bringing up, the connections with her being the angel and the connections that has to Spamton. So, this will just be the first part of the video. The second part, I'll get on with the main meats. Think of this as an appetizer or something. Okay, keep in mind, this is only Spamton-related evidence to Noelle being the angel. There's a lot more. I'm only going over the Spamton stuff. Anyway, firstly, I'm going to contradict that statement because shortly after beginning the Snowgrave route, there is an Addison who says to Noelle,
"Come on, Angel, you can't get stronger without good equipment."
Referring to Noelle as an angel and offering her a ring to make her more powerful is something Spamton also does later on, keep this in mind, so it's not like entirely void. Now, let's actually talk about this later section, as it's, the only scene in the game that has direct interaction between these two characters. Or at least, a scene where both of them are present.
Looking for
Irresistible deals that will blow your mind.
Well,
shut your mouth,
because you are
a weakling.
Try a little
Friday night workout.
Then I'll show you my 4 left.
Okay, well, in the video it says 5 left, but the intended dialogue is 4 left, it doesn't really matter. Now, I bring this up, but I'm not gonna talk about it just yet. It's more important for something I'm going to go into later that's still part of part 1 of my video, so just keep it in mind, don't lose track of it, okay? 4 left. Anyway, after freezing this 4 left, go back to Spamton and get this dialogue. Angel,
are you looking for the
ring of thorns?
That'll be 1997 Cromer. Here's your
ring.
Careful, it might
sting. I just wanted to quickly say, the thorn ring is a very obvious tie to the crown of thorns that Jesus wore from the Bible. She has a lot of direct ties to Christianity, Jesus, and angels, but I won't really get into it, as this is mainly a Spamton and Noelle video. Anyway, so multiple characters refer to Noelle as the angel, common knowledge. One of which, someone who has a deep history with her, which we'll get into later in part B. Also, in Undertale, hear me out now, the angel, who has the same place on the DELTARUNE symbol here, as in DELTARUNE, is described as an entity who has seen the surface and will empty the underground. What's notable about this is that this works in the context of both pacifist and the No Mercy route, leading people to have the interpretation that the player is the angel in Undertale. Now, in Undertale, Gaster explains that the people have actually taken a bleaker outlook and now believe the angel to be an angel of death, obviously, as said previously, working in tandem with the No Mercy route. The No Mercy route being the part of the prophecy that the people of the underground are seeming to favour. So, what did all of that mean? Well, In Undertale, the Angel is an entity who is believed to bring about either the pacifist route, or more believed to bring about the no mercy route. In Deltarune, Noelle is referred to as an angel by the Darkner that she has the most personal connection with prior to the events of Chapter 2. Noelle being the one who we lead to cause the Snowgrave route, the route that parallels the Undertale Genocide route, with the blank left, the extremely difficult boss battle, slowed down music, creepy atmosphere, but nobody came, and, yeah, murdering people. So Noelle in Deltarune has direct parallels to the Angel in Undertale. A lot of parallels, in fact, helping empty out the cyberworld either peacefully in the pacifist route or mercilessly in the Snowgrave route. And we know the Angel across both games is a very similar one, as they have the same place on the Deltarune symbol. Now, what does any of this actually have to do with Spamton? Sure, he calls Noelle Angel like once. So what? I think the person I should really be making a video essay about is the person who gave Noelle the thorn ring that allowed her to complete the Snowgrave route. But who could that be? So, what is my big theory? It's something you're gonna find out later. Sorry. Because first, I'm just going to compile a bunch of evidence that Spamton and Noelle do have a relatively deep history with each other. And the theory is going to be something I talk about last, in like a big climactic Jaru type speculative theory. No hate to Jaru, of course, I love him, but you know how he is. If you know what Oberon Smog is, it might be too late for you. Anyway, firstly, I'm going to talk about this Snowgrave route dialogue with Spamton Neo. Spamton here does not say Chris's name, implying he does not know Chris's name. Now, we know this because in the normal route, he does use Chris's name. Quite a lot, actually. So this means he didn't know Chris's name before the events of Chapter 2. But near the end of his fight in the Snowgrave route, you will be confronted with these act options. When you finally get to Noelle, Spamton has dialogue that implies he knows Noelle's name, because he hears you say it and recognizes it as Noelle. Now, this does show he has a connection with Noelle, but that's fairly common knowledge in the community. I'm here to figure out what that connection is, what their history is, and how Noelle made Spamton. And so the video essay Inception goes deeper. That's right, sections in the parts of my video essay. How beautiful. So, in my script, I kind of just have it all written down in the order in which the information came to me. But that kind of means there's a lot of information all over the place. So I'll be kind of jumping around my scripts a lot. So, if my speaking sounds a lot less formless than it somehow already did, that's the reason. I'm not good at segues. Anyway, on the original Spamton Sweepstakes Q&A, it's revealed that Noelle would always respond to Spamton's spam emails about deaths. This is where their connection comes from. Noelle was one of the only people who would always open her spam emails, as they might have given her information on her likely missing sister. Noelle always answering her spam email is also mentioned elsewhere on this page on the Deltarune website, as part of the Spamton Sweepstakes event. We will get back to this page later, I just want to first talk about how Noelle says this. I have this habit of always reading my spam mail, just in case it's someone real. She also says that the spam emails say stuff like,
Hoochie mamas can get big too.
Which I mean, Hoochie mama, like Spamton's 5th favourite catchphrase. Come on, it doesn't get any more clear than that. So, everyone basically already knows this, right? Spamton, Noelle, Des, Noelle looking for Des in her spam emails. But I bring the question, why is Noelle looking in her spam emails for information about Des? That's a pretty odd place to look for information about a missing person. Unless... no, it couldn't be. Maybe I'll get back to this later. Anyway, that's it for the Des section. Pretty desolate, I know, but it's just scratching the surface. Well, we all knew this was coming, because, you know, what's a Deltarune theory without some good old Gaster? Now, first of all, I'd like to talk about Spamton's backstory, as that is the most surface level piece of information for how Gaster relates to Spamton in the game. So, as told by the Addisons that are outside Spamton's shop after defeating Spamton Neo, you get this story. One day he was approached by someone on the phone who told him how to get big. He followed the person's advice, and he was allowed into Queen's Mansion. His life was going well, but one day he stopped being as successful. The person he was talking to had disappeared, and Spamton was evicted from the Queen's Mansion. But in his abandoned room was the phone he would always call this strange person on, and when the Addison went to pick up the phone, they describe it as just a garbage noise. Now this is huge because just garbage noise is also what refers to the sound that plays when you try to use your phone in the dark world. Also, this garbage noise is the exact same sound that plays during entry number 17 in Undertale, or Gaster's entry. I also just found out while editing this that in chapter 1, this doesn't say just garbage noise. Instead, it says this. But it doesn't seem to be working. Yeah, not garbage noise. The fact he updated this in chapter 2 is very telling that this was extremely intentional and there was meant to be a connection made here. Anyway, so it seems that Gaster was the person on the phone talking to Spamton helping him get big. Okay, real quick, we've done all that. I would just like to quickly talk about the Eggman, who obviously does have relations to Gaster. Might be Gaster, might not be Gaster. But whoever it is has ties to Gaster, and therefore has ties to this part of the video. We'll get into it. So for those who don't know, there is a mysterious man who hides behind a tree in a hidden room in both chapter 1 and 2. In both of these rooms, a certain song plays. And this song, a lot of people have said, sounds like Gaster's theme. Here's the song that the Eggman plays. And here's Gaster's theme. So yeah, they do kinda share a motif, but then again, Gaster's theme is like 4 notes, so it's hard to really say much. And just real quick before I move on, I would like to point out that the egg room in chapter 2 is between this random room and the room that Spamton is in Snowgrave, and where it's implied he sleeps. Just something to think about, putting it out there, you know. Now, the reason I decided, further to connect to the Eggman and Gaster before I get into this next bit of the video is because in this scene right before chapter 2 really begins, with all the cars, you see a guy in a car, right? This is just a normal person, but in Undertale he has a counterpart, this person, who is a goner, but it's not really anything on its own until if you've collected the chapter 1 egg and do this bit, in this car, there will be a man who waves at you. Now, this is telling that this is probably the man behind the tree who gives you the egg, right? We can agree on that? Cool. So, to have this Gaster follower and this Eggman be in the exact same place, it furthers the implication that the Eggman and Gaster have some relationship. Also, the only other character you can interact with around the library is another Gaster follower in Undertale. To be fair, you can only interact with this character after you beat the chapter, but it's also implied that they were here during the car section. Now, I refuse to believe it's just a coincidence that the only two characters, except for this random guy in a car, that you can interact with during this bit with the person who is definitely the Eggman in this car are both Gaster followers in Undertale, or have Gaster follower counterparts, I should say. So now that we've gone through all that, we can finally talk about why that's relevant. So, going on to DELTARUNE.com/man will get you to DELTARUNE.com/egg by clicking on this tree on the former page. Now this page has a story told by Noelle about a game she likes called Cat Petters, which has a bug, and this bug entails a seemingly sentient egg. And yes, Noelle having connection to a seemingly supernatural egg in a video game she plays is relevant, because as the games Noelle play are implied to have some sort of connection to Deltarune, as she talks about the fighting mechanics in Chapter 2 being very similar to the fighting mechanics in her favourite game, Dragon Blazers. So, the egg in this game is meant to be a direct representation of the egg in Deltarune, being some sort of thing that breaks the game somehow. Noelle has relation to the Eggman, as in her own favourite game, there is an egg which is representative of the egg in main Deltarune. This shows that Noelle does have a direct tie to the actual Eggman, due to the fact that, with evidence we'll get into in the next section, her video games are meant to be direct parallels to Deltarune itself. Say hello again to this page. This is the page I was talking about at the beginning of part 2, about Noelle reading her spam emails. Now the name of this page is DELTARUNE.com/blue circle, and wait, blue circle? Yeah, this story is about how Noelle looked at one of her spam emails and decided to mod the weird code she got from it into Cat Petters. This led to a weird self-replicating blue circle to invade her game. And what does this sound like to you? Right, Spamton's Pippices. Cat Petters seems to tie Noelle, Eggman, no, not that Eggman, Spamton, and minorly Gaster and December together in a nice little bow. And especially with the Spamton Sweepstakes 2, and we've gotten all the new information with the Rare Cat stuff. And, you know, I don't even really want to go over all of that, because if I did, I'd be here till December. But just know, it's quite important. It ties, you know, even further to all the Eggman stuff, and there's a lot to go over. I recommend watching a different video. I have barely a couple days left. Please, let me go! So, there's another in-universe game which ties all of these characters together. Firstly, in Deltarune, we can see Noelle playing Dragon Blazers with her dad, but after doing Snowgrave, it's revealed that there is a spell in the game called Ice Shock, which Noelle should be very familiar with. She compares the Dark World's fighting mechanics to Dragon Blazers, and the Ice Shock spell is one that is used to start the Snowgrave route. So here, Dragon Blazers is meant to be the obvious tie to Deltarune, Noelle being the tie to us. Noelle in universe can use Ice Shock in her video game and do stuff with it. We can use Ice Shock in Deltarune and make her do stuff with it. So it's obvious that Noelle is meant to parallel the player in the same way that Dragon Blazers is meant to parallel Deltarune. Where does this all come into Gaster, you may be wondering? Well, in a different link, DELTARUNE.com/icepalace_glacier gives another story. This one about Dragon Blazers. It just tells the story of Noelle trying to find a hard room with a mysterious door in it. This story really has no parallels. Joking. I can only really see it fitting, though, to Gaster and his door from Undertale, the Mystery Man door. If you don't know anything about Gaster, why are you watching this video? Go watch this one. It'll be somewhere. Link in the description. Please watch it. It's really good. And it would explain Gaster a lot better than I ever could. So with the door being somewhere really hard to navigate, what's a place really hard to navigate in Undertale? Or Deltarune? Well, it's Undertale, so I don't know why I included the Deltarune part. The core. Who made the core? Gaster. That further relates this to Gaster. Although one difference is, at the end of this page, there is text saying that you need a key to unlock it, but she was never able to find the key. Now, because Dragon Blazers is a direct parallel to Deltarune and not Undertale, could this signify a very similar door, maybe? One that we might see later in Deltarune that requires a key to get into, unlike the one in Undertale. Either way, that's not really related to my theory at large, so I'm not going to, talk about that too much, but just food for thought. Either way, it's yet another obvious tie with Noelle and Gaster. So now something that probably would have been better closer to the death section, but I don't really care. The familiarity that Noelle feels whenever she's around Spamton-related things. Oh, hey look, my OC guy's back. Say hi, OC guy. Oh yeah, I haven't animated him waving. Anyway, when first backtracking to Spamton's shop on the Snowgrave route and interacting with it with Noelle, you'll get this dialogue. Now what this is saying is that Noelle finds it nostalgic. Why? Well, I feel like the inobvious answer is deaths. And the reason I say this is because Noelle liked to do scary things with her sister because it would comfort her. This would bring her feelings of nostalgia. But also, Spamton's shop has more relation to death than what's first led on. In the game files of Chapter 1, there are strings of text from somebody, and they read as follows in Chapter 1. Where am I? Hello? Anybody? Is someone out there? Someone? Anyone? Can anyone hear me? It's dark. It's so dark. Someone, anyone, if you can hear me, say something, please. And in Chapter 2, they're built upon. No one can hear me, can they? I guess not. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I can hear myself. It's so quiet. And yet sometimes I swear I hear something. Something like scratching? What's the relevance of this? Well, picking certain dialogue options in Spamton's shop leads to him saying this. Creepy for sure, but what does this have to do with Noelle? It's Des. The person in the code is most likely Des or someone with relation to Des, so to have her actively speak through Spamton connects to them quite a lot. And while the thing that Spamton says isn't something from either excerpt, it's very likely that it is the same person speaking who is in the code. Des being interlocked so closely with Spamton is definitely something to theorize about. Maybe it's the reason he speaks the way he does. Anyway, the final piece of evidence that definitively ties Spamton directly to December is the fact that there is dialogue in the game's code for trying to equip both the Dealmaker and the Puppet Scarf onto Noelle. When attempting to equip the Dealmaker onto Noelle, she has this to say. This is simply just reaffirming the fact that Noelle has history with Spamton and that Spamton makes her feel familiar feelings. But it's the Puppet Scarf dialogue that gets me. Feels like guitar strings. Who is associated with guitars in this game? December Holiday. This is the final link in this video. DELTARUNE.com/December takes you to this page. Wait, what? That's weird. Not found, but this was a direct link from another page on the website. How could it be wrong? And that's also not the normal error page. Usually it's the dog check screen. Make sure something is spelled correctly. Seems fine to me. Maybe let's just try... Holy... Deltarune.com/Des leads you to a picture of a red guitar, and when clicked, it plays Noelle's leitmotif. And this song is called FindHer.ogg. Spamton is directly tied to December. His armor piece reminds Noelle of something familiar, and his weapon is said to feel like guitar strings, where Des is represented by a guitar. So here comes my speculation. And yeah, if Jaru can make nonsensical theories that somehow make sense with disconnected evidence that entertain that many people, then I'm allowed to as well. Sorry Jaru, I just keep calling you out in this video, don't I? Love you. Deltarune seems to take place around modern times, maybe a decade or so ago, and we know that Des went missing when Noelle was just little. So what if she went missing in 1997? Spamton loves this year so much, he says it was his favourite year and it's a good year. So what if it's the year that allowed him to get big in the first place? So here's the big theory. It's implied Chris has some backstory with the bunker, and it's a popular theory that this is where Noelle is. So my theory states that Gaster has knowledge of where December is. Gaster told Spamton about December and told him to use the information to lure Noelle into clicking on his links in his spam emails. Because of this, Spamton became a big shot, because not only was it Noelle clicking on everything, but it was the whole town. Everyone was looking for this missing girl, because obviously they would be. One day, however, Gaster disappears, or left Spamton, or ran out of information. It's really just up to interpretation. But this leads Spamton to try and grip onto as much disinformation as he could, eventually driving himself mad and beginning to speak in strange ways as a result of being exposed to all this Goner information, even having her talk through him, seemingly without her knowledge, as if they were fusing together in some way. Spamton was kicked out of Queen's Mansion and spiraled from there. The secret bosses seem to have a very close relation to December and Noelle, even Jevil, because cut dialogue shows Noelle also finding comfort in the Devil's Knife and Jevil's Tail, dropped by Jevil, a character also related to Spamton. I have no idea what Gaster did to Jevil, but harbour a guess and say that it was something to do with Des as well. Maybe defeating all the secret bosses and collecting the shadow crystals will eventually lead to finding Des, like all the weapons and armour are somehow fragments of her. Only time will tell. So, in conclusion, the town, and mainly Noelle, helped make Spamton. Because of the fact that they would always look at their spam emails trying to find information about Des. Sort of anticlimactic for a 27-minute video, but still, I hope you found it entertaining. Thank you for listening to my crazy, insane theory and sticking around for this long. I hope you enjoyed my very convoluted and probably formless video on the connection between Spamton and Noelle. This is my first video and I'm very self-conscious about it. I'm aware there's a lot of issues with the way my voice is recorded, stuff like that, the way the video is edited. I just hope you could enjoy its charm anyway. I've always had that image of, hey, 2 cakes. Knowing that even though my videos objectively are much lower quality than a lot of other people, hopefully you can still enjoy it. So, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now. Also, I realised that the page with the IC story further ties Noelle to Spamton, as Pizza Pants works at IC's, and in Undertale he has a line about using his vacation days to go to hell, and Spamton directly rips this off. But I didn't want to put it into the main video, it would be way more convoluted.